The Zodiac Killer. Even the name sends chills down your spine. He was a phantom, a ghostly figure who seemed to appear out of nowhere, committing heinous acts and then vanishing without a trace. A nightmare dressed in a hooded costume, a figure that seemed to step right out of a horror movie. His presence was an enigma, a dark shadow that loomed over the state of California, who terrorized California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. During this period, the state was gripped by fear, as the Zodiac Killer's reign of terror seemed to have no end in sight. He blended into the crowds, seemingly ordinary, just another face in the sea of people. Yet beneath this facade of normalcy, he harbored a darkness that was beyond comprehension, yet capable of unspeakable acts. He remains unidentified, a ghost in the annals of criminal history. Despite numerous investigations and countless hours spent by detectives, his true identity remains a mystery. A chilling reminder that some mysteries linger unsolved, haunting us from the shadows. The Zodiac Killer's case is a stark reminder of the limits of law enforcement and the enduring enigma of human evil, unsolved, haunting us from the shadows, his calling card. Cryptic messages, letters filled with taunts and threats designed to instill fear and confusion. Ciphers filled with cryptic symbols and threats mailed to newspapers, each one a puzzle that challenged the brightest minds. These ciphers were not just messages, they were a game, a twisted form of communication that kept everyone on edge, taunting the police and terrifying the public. He craved notoriety, seeking to etch his name into the annals of infamy. His letters were a way to ensure that his reign of terror would not be forgotten, reveling in the fear he instilled. The public's reaction was exactly what he wanted: fear, panic, and a sense of helplessness. He thrived on the chaos he created. He claimed responsibility for numerous murders, each one more brutal than the last. His victims were chosen seemingly at random, adding to the terror because no one felt safe. Each one a gruesome spectacle, a horrifying display of his capacity for cruelty. The crime scenes were left as macabre reminders of his presence, each one a testament to his brutality, a terrifying display of cruelty. The evidence collected was often sparse, leaving detectives with little to go on. Each piece of evidence was a fragment of a larger, more terrifying puzzle. The Zodiac Killer wasn't just a murderer, he was a showman, a master manipulator who turned his killing spree into a macabre game. He orchestrated his crimes with a level of cunning that was both terrifying and fascinating. A master manipulator who turned his killing spree into a macabre game. Each move was calculated, each letter a piece of a larger, more sinister puzzle. He was always one step ahead, always in control. He played with the police, toyed with the press, and held the public captive in a grip of terror. His ability to manipulate the media ensured that his name would be remembered, his crimes never forgotten, and held the public captive in a grip of terror. The fear he instilled was palpable, a dark cloud that hung over the state, affecting everyone from the police to the average citizen. He became a symbol of chaos and fear, a name that would forever be associated with terror. His actions left a lasting scar on the collective psyche of the public. His name whispered in hushed tones, a chilling reminder that even in the bright sunshine of California, darkness could lurk, ready to strike without warning. The Zodiac Killer's legacy is one of fear, mystery, and a haunting reminder of the evil that can exist in the world, a chilling reminder that even in the bright sunshine of California, darkness could lurk, ready to strike without warning. The Zodiac Killer's legacy is one of fear, mystery, and a haunting reminder of the evil that can exist in the world, ready to strike without warning. His story remains one of the most chilling chapters in the annals of American crime, a dark tale that continues to fascinate and terrify. December 20th, 1968. A young couple, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, parked at a lover's lane near Lake Herman Road. It was a secluded spot, perfect for a romantic evening, but their night ended in a bloodbath. Shots rang out, shattering the stillness of the night. David was killed instantly, shot in the head at point-blank range. Betty Lou tried to flee, her screams swallowed by the night. But the killer caught up to her, firing 5 shots into her back. The brutality of the crime shocked the community. The tranquility of their small town was shattered, replaced by fear and suspicion. Who was this ruthless killer? What drove him to commit such a horrific act? The police arrived to a scene of unimaginable horror. 2 young lives cut short, their futures extinguished in a flash of violence. The investigation began, a desperate search for answers in the darkness. The murders of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen sent shockwaves through the community. The police launched a full-scale investigation determined to bring the killer to justice, but the case was shrouded in mystery. The crime scene yielded few clues. The killer had left no fingerprints, no weapon, and no witnesses. The only evidence was the shell casings, scattered on the ground like grim confetti. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation seemed to be going nowhere. The killer had vanished like a ghost, leaving behind a trail of blood and unanswered questions. The community held its breath, living in fear of the unknown. Then, on July 31st, 1969, the killer struck again. This time, his victims were Michael Magot and Darlene Ferrin, a young couple parked in a secluded area of Vallejo. Michael Mageau miraculously survived the attack despite being shot multiple times. His testimony provided the police with their first real lead, a description of the assailant, a white male heavy-set wearing a hooded costume. But the killer, as if toying with the authorities, added a chilling new element to his crimes. Days after the attack on Mageau and Ferrin, 3 local newspapers received nearly identical letters. The letters, written in a strange, almost indecipherable script, were chilling. The writer claimed responsibility for the murders and threatened to kill again if his demands weren't met. The letters also contained a bizarre element: ciphers, complex codes that the writer claimed held the key to his identity. Were these ciphers genuine? Or were they just another cruel game designed to taunt and mislead? The police, desperate to stop the killer's reign of terror, brought in codebreakers to decipher the messages. The pressure was on. Lives were at stake. Lives. The ciphers sent by the killer sent a chill down the spines of investigators. These weren't just any ciphers. They were meticulously crafted, each symbol and letter chosen with a purpose. The killer seemed to be playing a twisted game, one where the stakes were life and death. They were complex, baffling, a puzzle box designed to taunt and mislead. Each new letter brought with it a fresh wave of dread, as the detectives knew that deciphering these codes was their only hope of catching the killer. The pressure was immense and the clock was ticking. The pressure mounted as the public, gripped by fear, demanded answers. News outlets were flooded with stories about the Zodiac Killer, and every new development was scrutinized by a terrified audience. The killer's taunts were not just aimed at the police but at the entire community, creating an atmosphere of paranoia and fear. One of these ciphers, a 408-character cryptogram, was eventually cracked by a schoolteacher and his wife. Their breakthrough was a beacon of hope in an otherwise dark and desperate time. It showed that the killer, despite his cunning, could be outsmarted. The decoded message was chilling, a glimpse into the mind of a madman. It revealed a person who took pleasure in the suffering of others, someone who saw murder as a game. The words were a stark reminder of the evil that lurked in the shadows. "I like killing people because it is so much fun," the message read. It was a statement devoid of remorse, a declaration of the killer's twisted joy. The detectives were left to grapple with the horror of what they were dealing with. It went on to describe the thrill of the kill, the power the killer felt over his victims. Each word painted a picture of a predator who saw his victims as mere pawns in his deadly game. The detectives knew they were up against a formidable foe. The message ended with a chilling promise: "I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collection of slaves for my afterlife." This was not just a threat, it was a declaration of intent. The killer saw himself as invincible, beyond the reach of the law. The decoded message sent a shockwave through the nation. People were horrified by the killer's audacity and the sheer brutality of his words. It was a wake-up call, a stark reminder that evil could strike anywhere, at any time. This wasn't just a killer. This was a monster who reveled in his crimes. The detectives knew they had to act fast, but the killer always seemed to be one step ahead. The case was becoming a race against time, with lives hanging in the balance. The race was on to catch him before he could claim another victim. Every lead, every clue was a potential lifeline. The detectives were relentless, knowing that failure was not an option. The hunt for the Zodiac Killer had become a battle of wits, a deadly game of cat and mouse. The police worked tirelessly, following every lead, every whisper, every fleeting shadow. But the Zodiac, as he began calling himself in his letters, always seemed to be one step ahead. He continued to send letters, taunting the police, bragging about his crimes and threatening new ones. Each letter was a blow, a reminder of their inability to catch him. There were suspects, of course. Arthur Lee Allen, a former teacher and convicted child molester, became a prime suspect. The circumstantial evidence against him was compelling, but it was not enough to secure a conviction. The years passed, and the case grew cold. The Zodiac, it seemed, had vanished into thin air. The fear subsided, but the memory of his crimes lingered, a scar on the collective psyche of California. Section 7. The Shadow of Suspicion, Arthur Lee Allen. The name hung over the investigation like a shroud. He was an enigma, a man who fit the profile of the Zodiac in many ways, yet always managed to evade concrete proof. Allen was intelligent, cunning, and had a history of violence. He matched the physical description provided by witnesses, and his handwriting bore striking similarities to the Zodiac's letters. He owned a watch with the same Zodiac symbol the killer used in his correspondence. He even admitted to knowing details about the crimes that had not been released to the public. Yet, despite the mountain of circumstantial evidence, Allen was never charged. The physical evidence linking him to the crimes was inconclusive, and without a confession, the case against him remained weak. Section 8. Echoes of the 60s. The Zodiac Killer's reign of terror unfolded against the backdrop of a tumultuous decade. The 1960s were a time of great social and political upheaval, a period marked by the Vietnam War, the civil rights movement, and the rise of counterculture. Amidst the protests, the assassinations, and the growing sense of disillusionment, the Zodiac Killer emerged as a symbol of the era's anxieties. He represented the dark underbelly of the American dream, the lurking fear that beneath the surface of peace and prosperity, chaos and violence could erupt at any moment. His crimes, so brazen, so seemingly random, shook the nation's sense of security. He became a boogeyman for a generation, a chilling reminder that even in an age of progress and enlightenment, evil could lurk in the shadows. Section 9. The Nameless Terror. The Zodiac Killer was never caught. He vanished into the mists of time, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a legacy of fear. His crimes, so meticulously planned, so brutally executed, continue to fascinate and horrify. The case remains open, a cold case file gathering dust on a shelf. But the memory of the Zodiac lives on. He has become a part of American folklore, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. The Zodiac Killer's story is a testament to the enduring power of mystery. It is a story about the elusiveness of truth, the fragility of peace, and the enduring human fascination with the unknown. Section 10. The Unfinished Cipher. Even today, decades after his last known communication, the Zodiac Killer continues to fascinate and frustrate investigators and armchair detectives alike. The mystery surrounding his identity and motives has only deepened with time, creating a dark allure that draws in new generations of sleuths. The Zodiac's reign of terror in the late 1960s and early 1970s left a trail of fear and confusion, a series of brutal murders accompanied by cryptic messages that seem to mock the authorities. The unsolved case, a puzzle with missing pieces, continues to attract attention, fueled by the hope that one day the mystery will be solved. Each new theory, each new piece of evidence is scrutinized with the hope that it might be the key to unlocking the truth. The Zodiac's ciphers, in particular, have become a focal point for this ongoing quest. These coded messages, filled with strange symbols and hidden meanings, are like breadcrumbs leading us deeper into the labyrinth of his twisted mind. Several of the ciphers sent by the Zodiac remain uncracked, their secrets locked away, taunting us with their impenetrability. Cryptographers and amateur codebreakers alike have spent countless hours trying to decipher these messages, hoping to uncover clues that the killer may have left behind. The ciphers are more than just puzzles. They are a direct link to the mind of a murderer, a glimpse into the dark recesses of his psyche. These unsolved codes represent the ultimate challenge, a final puzzle box left behind by a killer who reveled in games and manipulation. The Zodiac's letters were filled with taunts and threats, designed to instill fear and confusion. His ciphers, however, were something more, a challenge to the intellect, a dare to those who would try to understand him. Each unsolved cipher is a testament to his cunning and his desire to remain an enigma. Will we ever know the true identity of the Zodiac Killer? This question has haunted investigators for decades. Despite numerous suspects and countless theories, the true identity of the Zodiac remains a mystery. Some believe that the answer lies within the ciphers, that cracking these codes will finally reveal the killer's name. Others think that the Zodiac's identity may never be known, that he will remain a shadowy figure forever out of reach. Will the remaining ciphers ever be solved, revealing the answers that have eluded us for so long? The quest to decode the Zodiac's messages is ongoing, with new techniques and technologies being applied in the hope of making a breakthrough. Each new attempt brings a mix of hope and frustration, as the ciphers continue to resist our efforts. But the possibility of solving them keeps the search alive, a beacon of hope in the darkness of this unsolved case. Or will the Zodiac forever remain a phantom, a ghost in the machine, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the human heart? The image of the Zodiac as an elusive spectre, haunting the corridors of unsolved crimes, is a powerful one. He represents the ultimate unknown, a figure who defies understanding and eludes capture. His story is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the limits of our knowledge and the enduring mystery of the human psyche. The answer, like the killer himself, remains elusive, lost in the labyrinth of time and unanswered questions. As the years pass, the hope of solving the Zodiac case may fade, but the fascination with his story endures. The Zodiac Killer remains a symbol of the unknown, a dark puzzle that continues to captivate and confound. Whether we ever find the answers or not, the legend of the Zodiac will live on, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond our grasp.